Hello and welcome to End Focus, coming to you this week from the withered wasteland. Boy, it sure is windy out here. I am your host, Hilka. Joining me as always is my co-host, Rosalie. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. I was going to start things off by saying I'm tired, and then I think I've said that for every single recording that we've ever done. But to put it in perspective, I am finishing my first month of weight loss injections, and I won't go into too many details because I know that kind of thing could be triggering for many people. But the lethargy side effect is very real. I am exhausted. It's like, when you can kind of feel your body moving at like 2 frames per second. It's kind of like that. Do not recommend. Well, don't recommend the side effects, but
Yeah.
So I'm just very, very EP, extra EP. But other than that, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm reasonable. I also had a not very fun medical situation yesterday that I won't get into because it's not especially cool and fun to talk about. But it has also left me slightly lethargic and lightheaded.
That's not good.
So that's fun.
We're falling apart ever so slowly.
Yeah. I will say, to the best of my knowledge, off the top of my head, there have been 2 instances where you haven't said, I'm good, I'm just tired.
Oh.
And it is, in fact, the reason that once we have the final thing for the bingo card, it is, in fact, the center space that one of us is tired.
Right. To be fair, once you hit over like the age of 30, that's just a given, right? Just forever tired.
Not to make this too much of a tangent if Hilke complains about his teenage years, but like, I was also just kind of always tired as a teenager, and that was mostly just because I slept about an average of 5 hours a night in high school, which you're not supposed to do when you're a teenager.
Only 5 hours?
Yep.
Whoa.
It's just the kind of school I was going to at the time.
Oh.
Yeah. And it wasn't even for fun. I just had way too much homework every night.
I had Mrs. Doubtfire homework rules. I don't know if I've talked about that before.
I've seen that movie, but I don't know what that means.
So basically, the day that I got homework, like, I had to do it all within that first evening to get out of the way. So I'd have one night where I'd be like, oh, I have to do this for this class and this for this class. And I do all of it, like essays and everything. And then that meant that I had the rest of like the week or a couple of weeks free. And everyone else was like, oh, no, I've got all this to do. And my mum called it Mrs. Doubtfire rules because it is one of the kind of things that she insists on in the film to get your homework out of the way.
I am mildly jealous of your ability to have been able to do that.
Yeah, to be fair, you probably went to like a nicer school than mine, so you may have gotten like actual difficult like things to do at home because I don't think we did.
Oh yeah, this is a discussion for an entirely different podcast. But I went to the kind of school where we had homework in our like holidays.
Yeah, we had that.
Yeah, like the story I always tell, because I did the International Baccalaureate program, which is a torture device designed by Swiss psychopaths, is the summer break before IB Higher English started. We had to read the Odyssey and write 5 1,000-ish word essays about it.
Oh my, that's hardcore.
Yeah.
5 different essays. Why not one?
Yeah. No. That would be too easy. That's not preparing you for the realities of university.
I mean,
which it also wasn't, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't...
When I did my first year of English language and culture in university, there were like fellow students were complaining, I have 2 weeks to write this 800-word essay. And I'm like, I was writing 1,500 in 3 days in high school. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't remember until you get into like 3rd year. I don't remember having lots to do in the evening, apart from like instrument practice, I guess, but that's different in college. We did have always had homework in the holidays though. Like you could never just enjoy your holiday. It was always like read this book and do this and blah 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 blah. And then like what the UK spring break is like we had like reading week, which was like a week where teachers got training. We didn't have to go in, but we had a ton of homework to do for some reason. But yeah, it wasn't that bad. Our reading material was like Lord of the Flies, and nothing is kind of weighty as the Odyssey.
Oh yeah, we did for English, we did the Odyssey, multiple different Shakespeare plays and a bunch of his sonnets.
Yeah,
we did The Reader by Bernard Schlink.
Oh.
We did Waiting for Godot. We did Heart of Darkness. We did Huckleberry Finn.
Oh.
We did A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf.
Huh.
We did The Handmaid's Tale. All of this is over the course of 2 years, by the way.
To be fair, you probably got better education than me in the long run. Although we obviously, when you go to a UK school, it's obviously, you also get a ton of Shakespeare bits and bobs. We did The Merchant of Venice, which I actually quite liked. Because I got to be, when you had to like read it, like a different student would be given a character. I got to be Shylock. And because we didn't have drama, I was like, this is my time to shine.
Hell yeah.
And I quite enjoyed it. But then you had like, because of being at a Scottish school, you had so many like chavs being like, to be or not to be, aye. Like just the most monotone reading voices ever. And it was so annoying and I hated it. But yeah. Your school sounds nice and fancy, at least. I'm a bit jealous.
I mean, we've talked about this on stream. It was very fancy, but it was also very strange.
Oh, I can imagine.
Like, whenever I talk about my high school experience with my friends who grew up here in the Netherlands, they're like, what do you mean you had to sign in with an ID card? What do you mean you had armed guards at the school? Like, you weren't allowed to leave the school during, like, lunch break? What are you talking about?
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah. At least one person has described my high school as being prison-like, which is a fun thing to hear when talking to people.
I think all schools have a bit of prisonness to them. That's kind of like, nobody gets away unscathed.
Oh, for sure. But it's just like, armed guards, security cameras everywhere. You had to sign in to the school with an ID card, that there were gates that they would lock and you couldn't get in if you didn't have one. Like, I'm not going to sit here or pretend like it didn't have a lot of advantages, but we also had to do drills for multiple different natural disasters.
Oh.
Yeah. The joys of living in Southeast Asia. You have to be prepared for fire, earthquakes, floods. Yeah, fire, earthquakes, and floods. All of those have different procedures.
We just had chavs. And it's kind of it.
Yeah. But again, I could talk about this for hours, and I have with a therapist. But we should probably get into talking about some video games, because that is ostensibly what you're here to do on this podcast. But before we get into that, I want to remind everybody that we have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/GamePodular. I almost said someone else's Patreon. Holy hell, I'm in a mood today. You could do the same at our Ko-fi page at ko-fi.com/GamePodular. As a reminder, we now have a paid reward on the Patreon. We have little outtake clip compilations, stuff that gets edited out for just like flow, or we have to repeat something, but it's still funny, and so we put it in the outtakes. And if you want to give us some money on Patreon, you can do that at every level that we have on the Patreon, which is the one. We only have one. You can subscribe to our YouTube channels at youtube.com/@GamePodular, which you could be listening to this podcast on right now. And if you are, leave us a like and a comment about how grateful you are to not have to cover more announcement live streams this week. Last episode was so long.
Yeah.
And you can also go to youtube.com/@GamePodularStreams highlights for VODs of our streams. We just finished a full playthrough of Dispatch. It is a very good game, and we'll probably talk about it more in depth on the podcast at some point. But my co-host needs to finish it first.
Oh, I need to finish a game. That never happens.
Yeah. And we also upload the occasional stream highlight compilation or the occasional YouTube short on there as well. And, leave us likes and comments on those too, please. It would be very cool and good if you did. All right, on to the news. Our first news story is sort of NSO games in the sense that we're not talking about a game we didn't already know about, but Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness is now actually out. Mm-hmm. Of course, this was announced during the Pokemon Presents that it would be coming out in March, and it has. It's the one I want to play more, but it is also a sequel to Colosseum, and so it's weird that we don't have Colosseum yet, but we do have Gale of Darkness.
Yeah, I was wondering that. Very odd.
I think it's just the draw of Shadow Lugia is, I think, something they think we're more excited about. You know what? They're right. This also came with an update to the GameCube Classics app that improves the analog stick mapping to create sort of like, I read an article about it, it sort of feels like it creates like a virtual dead zone kind of. That means the sticks aren't nearly as sensitive, which is nice. It is sort of a weird thing that I ran into when playing some GameCube games, including Wind Waker. That one time we streamed it earlier this month.
Yeah.
Was that earlier this month? Yeah, it was. I think so. Yeah, good stuff. Another update from our last episode, we now have a more definitive release date for the Switch version of Pokemon Champions. During the aforementioned Pokemon Presents, they told us April 2026, but now we know it'll specifically be April 8th of 2026. The iOS and Android versions are still just vaguely later this year. Are you going to play Pokemon Champions, at all? Because I'm not.
Probably, no. Battling is probably the thing I care least about.
Yeah, this seems like it's really for the competitive sickos. And it's glad, and I think I talked about this last episode as well, I'm glad that for the people who only really care about the super competitive side of it, that they don't have to play an 80-hour RPG to get to that point.
Mm-hmm. Is it free to play?
I believe it is.
Oh, okay. I might, check it out just because it's there. But yeah, I'm not really fussed.
I am a little worried about, the other free-to-play Pokemon games that exist, by which I mean because they're free-to-play mobile games, monetized in a truly horrific way.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that Champions will follow suit, and that does kind of suck for the competitive community. If that does indeed happen, which, again, I don't know. Game's not out yet. We'll see. But if I compare it to, Pokemon Go or Pokemon Unite.
Yeah, it's really bad for that.
A game that is so horrifically optimized, monetized, that it's legally not allowed to be played here in this country. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, April 8th isn't that far away, unfortunately. Oh my God, I have so much to do. Our next story, this was very odd. We got a new system update for the Switch 2's operating system on March 17th, and it added, among other things, a handheld mode boost, which will allow, to the best of my understanding, Switch 1 games to run as if they were in docked mode when played in handheld mode on Switch 2.
Yeah.
So it'll be in 1080p.
Yeah.
And that's very cool. It's very useful for, playing them in 1080p. What else is there to say about it? The one thing I will say about it is I read the patch notes just from Nintendo's website. And it's weird that it was just sort of buried near the bottom of the patch notes and that they didn't make a separate big announcement for it, because this is kind of a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a lot of older Switch games are quite blurry on the Switch too, and this kind of helps with the whole backwards compatibility-ness of them all. So it is
Yep.
weird they didn't do a song and dance about it. I don't know why.
Who knows with Nintendo at this point? We certainly don't, and we cover them every 2 weeks. I have heard from people who have used it, which, to be clear, I have not yet, that it is like kind of murder on your battery.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the Switch 2's battery was never going to be all that good in the first place. Although more on that in a bit. Our next story is just a nice little nostalgia shout out. The Game Boy Advance is 25 years old this year.
Oh my god.
We didn't prepare like a quiz for it because, fun fact, I discovered this yesterday at time of recording, so I didn't really have time to do anything about it. But I did want to shout it out because it is the first video game console that I ever purchased. And yeah, it sort of started me on the journey of video games that I am still on today. And that makes me very happy to think about. It doesn't make me super happy to think about that was indeed 25 years ago. And that is, like 80% of my life, maybe? I'm not good at math. As you heard, I was an English major.
I'm imagining, that meme with the person with like the dominoes. They're like stacking, one's huge and one's little. I imagine like one side it's like Hilka gets a Game Boy Advance, and the other side is Hilka hosts a Nintendo podcast.
Yeah. It is kind of cool to think about that a system that could essentially run Super Nintendo games but handheld could exist, like 10 years after the Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
And there was a thing going around on Blue Sky. I forget what game it was. It was some sort of like rally game. Hang on, I'm looking it up. That was running on the GBA. Yeah, V-Rally 3. That, through a variety of tricks, basically looks like it's a rally game that's played in like a fully 3D environment, which is wild that's something the GBA was capable of pretending to show.
Yeah. God, some Game Boy Advance, and I would say a lot of Game Boy Advance games are gorgeous, even when I was talking, was it you I was talking to or someone else? I was talking about Chain of Memories, the Kingdom Hearts Game Boy Advance game, and how I was really bummed that all the HD collections have the PS2 remake rather than the original, like a port of the Game Boy Advance one, because the sprite art on it is so lovely, and it feels like a totally different game, and I'm like, it makes me kind of nostalgic for when games were designed to be little cute experiences like that, instead of you can play the main game but on the go like it is now, which was good. It's very cool, but it's like it's different. It feels different.
Fun fact, pretty sure I've said this on the show before, but Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, my first ever Kingdom Hearts game.
Oh, that's got to be confusing.
It was. I mean, if nothing else, Sora, losing his memory and being very confused about what was going on, neatly mirrored my confusion about what was going on. Because Donald and Goofy would talk about don't you remember this happening? And Sora would be like, no. And I would also be like, no.
That's amazing. I kind of love that.
But yeah, I was thinking also in regards to the GBA, it is a pretty fun coincidence or maybe just the realities of game development, where I think every Nintendo system has had two big Pokemon games. Because the GBA had Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yeah.
And by the time the next games came out, we were already on the DS. Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, and Black and White 1 and Black and White 2, which I realize is 3. But on the other hand, Black and White 2 are very similar to Black and White 1. They got to basically reuse most of the assets, so it's not like they had to build everything from scratch like they do for a new game. But yeah, Pokemon. I've been thinking about Pokemon a lot recently, partially because Pokopia is such a big hit. More on that in a second. And also just, it's such an instrumental part of my life and the way my life has gone. And I genuinely would not be the same person I am today without Pokemon. And you know me, I try not to get too absorbed by nostalgia, but it's hard to deny how important it is to me,
No, I think nostalgia is fine as long as it's not, like American nostalgia, if you know what I'm saying. I think nostalgia in products and media is okay. It just depends on how you're utilize it and how you're being nostalgic about it. And I think because at the weekend I dug out my Steelbook Blu-ray of the first 3 movies.
Nice.
Me and Andrew watched them while playing Pokopia on our Switch 2s, and it also got me thinking about like the OG I'm not I don't have nostalgia in that life was amazing when I was a kid, because it wasn't. Because when single parent and being homeless and things, but Pokemon was quite a kind of a nice thing to escape to, and it was like it was a beacon amongst all the rubbish, especially the OG Pokemania. And it was the one time, I thought about this yesterday, where I felt like I didn't have to mask as a kid, because everybody liked an anime and everybody liked video games as much as I did for a moment in time. And that feels really silly now, because everybody, anime's mainstream and whatever, but back then it was a huge deal and it was really cool. And yeah. Just wanted to get that out there.
So thank you, Game Boy Advance. You are very important to me and to both of us, and to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Speaking of Pokemon, hey, let's take the first pin out of the corkboard. So Pokemon Pokopia is doing absolute gangbusters. The Nintendo released a press release to say that it had sold 2.2 million copies in the first 4 days. And their share price rose around 18% around the same time. And we bring this up, and we usually don't talk about this, but I bring it up partially to continue a discussion we sort of started on the last one, where Pokopia is sort of the first actual system seller that the Switch 2 has had.
Yeah.
My brother and his wife were like, we've been looking into getting a Switch 2 recently. And I was like, is it because of Pokopia? And they're like, yeah, it's because of Pokopia.
Yeah. Andrew bought one, and Andrew used our wedding fund to buy one, which he has to pay back into.
Yeah.
And I'm holding him to that. But, treat yourself and all that.
Yeah. Which leads me to my next point. Okay, fine. I will actually play it. I know I said in the last episode that I probably won't. And there's a good chance that it won't be anytime soon, because I have other long games to play. Although I did finish one of them recently, which means I can now devote my attention to another one that I purchased earlier. If I'm very lucky, and if other people are even more lucky, I might get a copy for my birthday, which is next month, which would be cool and good if they can find a physical copy literally anywhere in this country, because so far I haven't been able to.
Yeah, although it's technically a game key card, so...
Yeah,
I don't...
And, I also have just Nintendo eStore credit on my wish list as a compromise. Just walk into a grocery store and buy one of those cards.
Yeah, it is probably the kind of thing you want on your Switch at all times, not gonna lie. Yeah. That has that Animal Crossingness where you just want access to it all the time, but yes. Yeah.
But yeah, good job, Koei Tecmo, right? It's a Koei Tecmo game? I actually don't know this off the top of my head.
A Megaforce.
which is owned by Koei Tecmo. Haha,
Ah,
yes,
you
I
were
did
right.
remember. Co-developed by Game Freak and Omega Force. Yes. Congratulations. Good job. Time to take the second pin out of the corkboard. We're talking about batteries. Japanese publication Nikkei, is how I believe you're supposed to pronounce that, is reporting that new versions of the Nintendo Switch 2 might be coming to Europe in the future. This is to comply with an European Union Parliament directive that was ratified in 2024 that obligates manufacturers to support their electronic products through repair services and, relevant to this story, replaceable batteries. They've also reported that new controllers with replaceable batteries are also in the works. Now, these rules will start being enforced in February of 2027, which, on the one hand, I know in my brain is next year, but 2027 does very much sound like a sci-fi future year from like a 90s movie. You know, you're watching a sci-fi movie in the 90s that takes place in the post-apocalypse, and it's like, it is the year 2027.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's less than 12 months away. Time moves on. So probably don't expect this hardware revision until then. Now, we do happen to have someone who knows a lot more about hardware than I do on this podcast.
I do.
Did you have any other insights or anything you wanted to share on this?
More that it's less to do with providing a better battery. Like, just because it's going to be replaceable, don't expect it to be, a longer lasting battery. It's more to do with expanding the life of devices to prevent against e-waste. So,
Yes.
because the Switch 1 and the Switch 2, the way the batteries are installed is behind this really insane adhesive that, like, the average Joe... It's like, if you're like a third party, like family owned business that does repair jobs, or it's quite, even for them, it's quite hard to remove, which makes repairing switches really difficult, which means that, usually if your battery's dead or dying and they're lithium ion batteries, that's pretty common because, over time they start to degrade anyway. A lot of people will just put their switches in the bin. But this is to kind of combat that and to make them easier to fix, either officially or, through third-party alternatives. And because the older handhelds, like the 3DS, the batteries are really, you literally take the screws off the back, pop it out, and you can pop a new one in. Obviously, do a bit more research before you do that. I'm not going to be held responsible for any broken 3DSs, especially now that they're going up in price online. But it'll be. I hope that it's coming out. It'll be really cool because and it's very pro-consumer, and I don't like e-waste, and something I'm very conscious of as someone that earns a living telling people to buy stuff, to buy gadgets, and it's something I'm very kind of have to kind of cope with in the back of my brain. So if this kind of news excites me, more of this. So I hope they do an official announcement at some point. I don't know which countries would get it, because it's doesn't mean everyone in Europe would have access to it. So it'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but it is something I hope other countries adopt, because that would be really cool. Because it didn't. You'll know this is why in Europe a lot of like smartphones need to have all the same like USB-C ports, was to cut down on e-waste, so that universal chargers could all be the same type.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a very similar EU directive. Even Apple had to fall in line, and so iPhones in the EU now also have USB-C chargers instead of the Lightning chargers that they previously had.
I love that. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't have a million of the same chargers lying around still. But more of that, please. But yes, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
And it probably does mean that someone could more easily mod the Switch with a better battery in there. I don't advise doing that because you're going to void the warranty. But I imagine that's going to. I mean, people are probably already doing that. It's just difficult. But yes, it's good news for once in the gaming sphere.
Yeah.
That's unusual these days.
Also, just like shout out to the EU.
Yeah.
Like,
miss you. Well,
it's nice that you're doing good things.
Yes.
And wow, that was all the news. Holy crap, we're on less than an hour.
Oh, I wonder if that's a record.
Oh, the like the triple announcement live stream from last episode really changed me as a person, I think. So now we're going to talk about what we've been playing.
Ooh.
We've already mentioned it a few times, so we might as well mention it some more. I believe you've been playing Pokemon Pokopia, is that correct?
I have. It has been consuming my life. Oh, yeah. You know how I said, like, people are saying it's the best, like, well, at least the best Pokemon side game ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. I was worried.
Love to see it.
Is it you that does sometimes hates like being overwhelmed by things to do in certain games, like open world things?
Yes.
Yeah. I do worry about that for you in particular, because it does have a lot of that. But
okay. Because the example I always give is like, I do not find Stardew Valley to be a relaxing game at all. Because there's like so many things you can do that I feel bad not doing them. Because like my favorite part of Stardew Valley is the fishing. I really like the fishing minigame. Yeah. I got quite good at it when I was playing the game regularly with other people. But just like the back of my mind knowing like, okay, well, you know, farming is the way that you actually make a lot of money in this game, and you need to make a lot of money in this game in order to hit the metrics for your grandpa to grade you correctly, because then you can also unlock different things and go deeper into the mines, and it's just like a sort of cascading thing where I just can't, like, even though I am doing a thing that's supposed to be calming me down, it's just like there are 12 other things that I could be doing right now.
Yeah, it's not in that realm.
Okay.
Because it's all towards the same goal. You kind of it's really, in fact, it ties into us talking about nostalgia. Because the game starts off where you're being talked to as a Ditto. And the reason you're a person is because you're being asked to, reminded of what the trainer that you once loved looks like or looked like. Because this is a post-apocalyptic Pokemon game.
Yes, so I've heard.
And that kind of sets you up for like the feeling, it like whimsy because it's cute, but also just like, oh, this is the world I once loved. Because your starting area just looks like a kind of, you know, it's like a little field, and there's a Pokemon Center that's just all crumbly and bricks. But then you can find little documents that give you kind of like this lore and the stories, and you kind of unravel that you're in Kanto, which
really?
I think was a very deliberate choice to kind of feed into that nostalgia more. Because I think they knew that 30-plus-year-olds were the target demographic for this game.
Yes.
So, like, for example, I picked up a document and it was telling me, like, it was like meant to be like an old newspaper report. It just gave you the text. You didn't see like it in a graphic or anything. But it was like, oh, the tomboyish gym leader, Misty. And that made me unlock like a little Misty haircut. And you find things like that where you get what's the gym leader? Is it Koger? What's his name? The guy.
Koga?
Yes, you get his outfit.
The poison gym leader.
Yes, you get his outfit as well. You can find like a Team Rocket, like OG Team Rocket outfit, and it was very, and it'll also I won't get into it too much because it's a game that does well on you going at your own pace and discovering bits in your own time. But the documents fill in the kind of lore, and a lot of time the Pokemon will ask like, "Where are the humans? Why did they go?" And you're like, "Oh no, this is really grim." But on the plus side, when you meet all your Pokemon friends, it cheers you up. And the cross it isn't actually Animal Crossing like a lot of us suspected. It is like Dragon Quest Builders, but you're building habitats for Pokemon.
Okay.
So it'll be, you get taught early on that you get moves that Pokemon teach you. One will make leaves pop out of the ground, and one you can cut through logs and things. But the habitats are like a short kind of square space that's made up of items or foliage, and depending on the types that are together, they will attract a different Pokemon. So like you can have 4 bushes together and that will attract like a combi, or and creating those habitats, they'll come over and then you can befriend them, and then they'll be your friend and you can hang out with them. And then you can build them larger cool houses, like full-on Dragon Quest builders. Like someone's built a whole office building. Someone's now built a working calculator somehow. On a different level, I don't understand. But it's more about creating this lovely like habitat for your Pokemon friends. Did you ever play the dungeon games?
The mystery dungeon games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the humor and how they speak is very similar as well. And I think it's one of the reasons why it's been such a success is that like there's Pokemon that I did not like say Bellsprout. Like, didn't hate Bellsprout growing up, but I didn't particularly love Bellsprout. But the Bellsprout in the game is really cute and says really cute things, and I'm like, I will die for you. And they also give you materials, which you can use towards building new habitats or just building cool things. And each location where you find all these find and can gather the Pokemon will have like a set of story quests which you do. And it's Professor Tangrowth, who is a big Tangrowth, and he kind of talks you through them all. But what I've realized, you realize it early on, is that the areas are also actual areas in Kanto. So you're in the Withered Wasteland to begin with, and then the next place you unlock is Bleak Beach. And then in the distance you see the Esezan, which you can go into, and it's like an abandoned ship. But like the areas in the original games where you expect things to be are in Pokopia, but like destroyed, or like there's remnants of it. So they've designed the maps like to pay proper homage to the original games. It's very, very, very clever. You don't need to rebuild the areas to look like how they did in the game. You don't really need to entirely rebuild them at all. You can just do the story missions and keep moving on. But it feels such a clever design, because you're literally, by playing this game that's targeted towards like feeling nostalgia of Pokemon, and you're physically like rebuilding the crumbled remains of Kanto. It's like, it's very thematic and cool, and it's just a delight. It runs really beautifully as well. The soundtrack is like, oh my god, it's like the soundtrack is inspired by the original music from the games, and you start to notice that, but it will be very subtle. It'll be like a very calming, like, the 3 a.m. Animal Crossing music, where it's very kind of like relaxing. It'll be like that, but then it'll be the notes of like the Pokemon Center music or something. It's just, it's like the game is, it's such a new experience for the Pokemon franchise, but at the same time, it's very cleverly poking at your memories of what came before. It's delightful. It's also probably one of the first games where the mouse controls are actually really handy too,
Okay.
because one of your main moves that you learn is from, is it Hitmonchan? Yeah, Hitmonchan's the one with the boxing gloves. I always get them mixed up.
Yes.
Yes, because he's based on, right, yeah. You get a move from him and you get big, you can transform your hands into big boxing gloves, and that's how you kind of smash blocks and get rid of terrain. And to get like ones above you, you kind of have to look up. The aim, it's fine, but it's actually a lot better, and you get better accuracy if you're using the mouse controls.
Okay.
And it's probably the first game where I've actually enjoyed using the mouse controls, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why they didn't release like a Ditto-themed mouse add-on, but there you go. But yeah, like, oh, even like there's cool designs as well. There's Mosslax, which is like a big Snorlax you find who's covered in moss because he's been there for so long.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures.
Yeah, there's a plushie of him, which I really want. There's Pikachu, who's a Pikachu who's lost all his electricity. It's very, it's beautiful. And it's really fun. It's really cool too, because the water physics I'm not hugely a fan of, but like you can like find furnaces, you put logs in them, you can build the crafting system, you can build like electric poles, and you can have full on electricity running through your areas. Outside of like the pre-built areas as well, you can get your own one to play with, which by default is called Pallet Town, but you can do whatever you want with it. You can create one with your friends.
Oh yeah, I remember that from the Pokemon Presents.
Yeah, so me and Andrew have got one when we've started, and you basically just use everything you've learned to doing the quests, and you can do again whatever you want. And I think I've mentioned it before, but it's like Minecraft server rules where you don't both have to be online to be in order to be in the world and to edit. The visiting people's islands is a bit not rubbish, but it does like a spectator mode, so you can go to each other's maps and go to their houses and run around, but you can't like interact with items or anything. But you can talk to the Pokemon and invite them over to your game. And then so I was playing my file, and then Lapras came and it was like, "Hi, I'm Andrew's friend Lapras. How are you?" That was really cute. You find really cool items too. In my house, I have a Pikachu sofa and a vending machine and a slowpoke rug. It's kind of really great. I'm really bad at like building cool things though, and I was in Dragon Quest Builders. So it is one of those things where I think it kind of encourages you to look up examples of what people have done. But to be fair, it's like an Animal Crossing community thing as well, because people would do like insane builds with such random things. But I kind of like that because it, the whole point of the game is you're building a community of Pokemon and making them feel comfortable and happy, and then that's encouraging you to look online and look at a different community of Pokemon fans.
Yeah.
Also, the game is all about befriending the Pokemon as well. They'll say they're hungry, and you can give them food, and they'll like you more. And once you befriend them, they'll stop calling you Ditto, and they'll start calling you by your actual name. And they'll be like, "You're
nice.
You're my best friend, Rose." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Squirrel. I love you." It's just. It makes me really excited because it's technically, because we're all comparing it to Animal Crossing and Dragon Quest Builders. It's like a combination of so many ideas that came before, so it's technically not new, but it's done it's presented in such a lovely way that it makes me excited for what other Pokemon games could be coming out in the future. Not that side games have ever been boring. Like, I love the Rangers games, which not many people talk about, and we've talked about Conquest before, and there have been really cool ones. But I think sometimes,
Snap.
and we love the Legends games as well. But I sometimes feel like this still feels quite a bit more different because it's more about creativity rather than it doesn't. There's no battling or anything. There's no. And I'm very, because it's done so well, I'm really hoping that, I hope that they make another one or add a lot of like DLC to this so that, we were talking about how New Horizons would have benefited from having like a Sims DLC kind of deal where there was new bits and bobs added all the time. This would definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm 40 plus hours in, and I still have a lot to do. Angie got 65 hours in before he got like the main quest kind of story bit done. And then of course you can complete the Pokedex, and you can also make best friends all of them, so it's like an added thing. But if they end up doing like DLC, that'd be cool. It's just very wonderful. It's probably one of my.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the nostalgia of Crystal and Soul Silver, it's probably like one of my all-time favorite Pokemon games ever.
That's high praise.
Yeah, definitely should have been. If they could have finished it on time, I don't know what their dev cycle was like for this. They maybe should have made it a Switch 2 release game, because it's probably the best Switch 2 game there is right now. But I won't question. Okay. I won't question why they didn't release it closer to the launch of the console. It's probably because of the 30th anniversary and everything. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'd rather it come out later and just be good than too early and have to fix it later. You know.
Yeah, exactly. I've not had it.
Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, it runs really well. Also, I think I've said it before, but there was a lot of people annoyed that it wasn't on the Switch one. This could not have run on the Switch one, OG Switch. There's too many. There's been loads of Pokemon near you at once, applauding you for putting a flower bed somewhere and being like, "Oh my god, you're so clever! That's an amazing flower bed." There's so much going on, and the actual worlds are huge, and it's all things that you can, move or dismantle or break apart. That the lag would be insane.
Yeah,
I'd rather it look good and run good than people get a half of an experience. Whether it's enough to merit someone investing in a Switch 2 is entirely up to the person. But there's always,
for sure. Like for some people, it is the system seller.
Yeah.
And for others, it's not going to be. Not everyone's going to like everything.
Yeah, exactly. There's always going to be that one game that goes, go on then. And for my partner Andrew, this was the game, so we now have 2 Switch 2s in this house. But that's fine with me because now I have someone to play stuff with. But yeah, no, I think you would really, really like it, and it's the kind of thing that I will probably still be playing it by the time you get it, because there's so many things you can kind of do. And we could even make our own in-focus area. Little town. So yes, it is a delight.
Glad to hear it. Yeah, I already said earlier in this episode I will end up buying it. But man, you're really selling me on it.
I know. Now I've got the fear that you won't like it. I'll be like, no. No, I think you will.
I hope so. It is very funny, especially like for Twitch streaming content, to have very like strong, maybe contrarian opinions. But in a lot of ways, it actually just feels kind of bad, Yeah. Like when I was going to bring up Breath of the Wild, but maybe that's not the best example. No, yeah, I'll bring up Breath of the Wild. Like I've talked about this on this podcast before. I didn't especially like that game. And I have my reasons for it. I just need a little more like guidance in my games, and the whole, all right, you finished the tutorial, go, didn't really appeal to me.
Yep.
And in a way, it made me feel kind of bad, because there were so many people, both who I would talk to in real life and also especially online, who were just like, this is one of the best games of all time, and posting all these things about how cool it is and all the things you can do and all the fun discoveries you can find. And it kind of felt bad being left out of that, because I didn't really like it. And, I feel that way about some other things as well. And it would suck if I disliked this game too, because it sounds like the way it is being described to me, not just by you, but by the way other people are talking about it, it sounds very cool.
Yeah.
And so I do I will definitely give it a very honest try once I get around to actually owning it,
That's fair.
which might be a bit. And it might be even longer before I actually have time to play it. Because I'll talk about this later in the episode as well, but I am neck deep in Monster Hunter Stories 3 at this moment. And it's a very good game, but it's also probably very long. But before that, I have also been playing a different game. It is called Minishoot Adventures. There is an apostrophe after the word Minishoot. I don't know why, but there is. That is not, in fact, a typo in our notes. And I mentioned, I think, in the last episode, how it was in the Indie World Showcase.
Oh, yeah.
But it had already been out on Steam since like 2024. And I saw it in the Indie World Showcase. I downloaded the demo on Steam, promptly lost an hour and a half of my life to it, and was like, Steam spring sale is coming up. Put it on my wish list. Sure enough, 5 days later, hey, Minishoot Adventures is 40% off. Don't mind if I do. And so between this episode and the last one, I basically finished all of it.
Whoa.
It's very good. It's, as a refresher for those who maybe don't remember it from the last episode, it's sort of like a top-down Zelda kind of game, but instead of like sword combat, it's also a twin-stick shooter bullet hell game. It reminded me how much I love twin-stick shooter games. I played a lot of Geometry Wars back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that game? Or, let's shout out Beat Hazard as well. Remember Beat Hazard?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love these kinds of games, and combining it with sort of a top-down Zelda adventure, brilliant idea. It works even better than I thought it would, and I was already excited based on the trailer in the Indie World Showcase. Mm-hmm. The basic premise is you are some sort of spaceship-looking thing who awakens to fight against the corruption of the Unchosen. You travel around the world, you find other ships who have been trapped in dark crystals and break them out, and then they return to the hometown in the center of the map. And there's one who becomes a merchant, there's one who can heal you, there's one who can like decipher map segments that you find in the overworld. And ultimately, you'll go through dungeons. There's like the four main ones that have the big bosses at the end that you need to unlock the final boss. And there's other ones that have ship powers, traversal powers. Your boost, your, I guess I could call it a short boost. Like there's the speed up boost, and then there's like the dash forward boost, both of which use the same button on the controller. Fun fact, left trigger. The ability to fly over water, that kind of thing. And I'm just like shocked at how well it all works. The one major difference between this and like a Zelda game is there is an XP system.
Ooh.
Killing enemies will get you XP, and you'll use those to upgrade like the damage of your weapon, the fire rate of your weapon, the range that your bullets fly, the speed at which those bullets fly, etc., etc., etc. And you find like heart pieces, just like in Zelda, and Hollow Knight, and just video games. The thing I'm most impressed by is that it just never got boring. Because if you look at just the mechanics as a list, there aren't actually that many of them. But the areas are designed well enough, and when you have to backtrack, it's quick enough to travel through them while still running into enemies so you can get more XP, that I was never really frustrated or it felt like a grind. The two things that frustrated me the most in this game were sometimes it was kind of hard to find out, like I knew where I was going, but I didn't know how to get there. And the others is sort of related to that is not everything is like super obviously explained. Like the example I have is one of the modules, which is like a passive upgrade for your ship. Um, it's a reward for a quest where like three of the ships you find are a family, and once they're all together, you've functionally finished the quest. But in order to get the actual reward for the quest, you have to go to the table in their house and physically maneuver yourself onto the chair, and then like a little cutscene plays, and then you get the item. And I didn't know you had to do that, so I just spent a long time like, okay, I found them. How do I get the thing? Like, but honestly, that degree of friction, it kind of adds to the overall like mysteriousness of the world, because not everything is like super explicitly explained in the story of what happened and what's currently going on. And to be honest, it doesn't really need to. The story is like, you know, it gives context for what's going on in the game, but I would call it sort of the least necessary part of the experience. It's just, the gameplay is challenging. It's fast. It forces you to be both precise and very agile in a way that just never got old. And I played this game for like 5 hours straight on one of my play sessions, which is half of the game. About like it took me about 11 hours to beat. And I say beat, I've still got some post game stuff to do that's like really, really hard, and so far I haven't finished it. But for all intents and purposes, I have finished the story as far as I understand it. And yeah, this game's great on Switch. I played a bunch of it on Steam Deck. That is, in fact, how I ended up playing it for 5 hours, because I was like, all right, time to go to bed. But I do have a Steam Deck in my bedside table.
Yep. They're so dangerous.
And then suddenly it was 1 a.m.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Which for me, for context to your listeners, I go to bed, like I start getting ready for bed before 10 p.m. So the fact that I was up until 1 a.m. playing video games, not something that happens to me very often, especially when I have a stream in the morning the next day, which is what happened this past weekend.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Very excited that this game is on Switch. I highly recommend checking it out if you like twin stick shooters. This is a very interesting sort of twist on the genre, and it's just so much fun. I just spent a lot of time talking. How do you feel about twin stick shooters?
Yeah, I like them, but I actually really like the sound of this. I think I added it to my Steam wish list. I think, maybe. So it's also one that I may one day play on the Steam Deck.
Yeah. I will say, if you are going to check out the demo, your progress does not carry over to the main game, because there's some things in the demo in like level design wise that are different.
Oh.
So if you play the demo, don't get like too invested in everything that's going on. Just like get a feel for how it plays, and then if you like it, pick up the full game, because your stuff's not going to carry over.
Yeah. Although I need to finish a million other things first.
Yes.
Oopsie.
I've talked about this multiple times at this point, but I have tickets for the Expedition 33 concert that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
In like 2 weeks. And I finally did actually finish the story of that game. I still have some, just like in Minishoot Adventures, I still have some post-game stuff that I could do, but I at least know the ending of the game now.
That's one I need to, because things have been spoiled, and it's going to get to a point where if it's too much of it, I will never finish it. Because I know what I'm like. I am more than halfway through Resident Evil Requiem.
Nice.
So my plan is to finish that, do the story stuff in Pokopia, then go back to Paranormal Site 2, because I forgot to finish that.
Nice.
And then I forgot I pre-ordered Fatal Frame 2 remake. which
Yeah.
I think is on the Switch too. So if I did play it, I could theoretically talk about it with y'all, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to get one of those apps that like tracks your backlog and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad. Oh dear.
That is going to neatly transition us into what we're going to be playing in the near future. I think we basically more or less already talked about it. Mine is going to be Monster Hunter Stories 3, a game I am currently about 25 hours into, and I am in the second area. I don't know how many areas there are, but it's very fun. I am looking forward to playing a lot more of it. How about you? I guess you've already said, but for the sake of posterity.
Sorry, spoilers. I'm gonna finish Resident Evil Requiem. And I totally forgot that it's on the Switch too, so I can also talk about it. Which is good because it's fun. So fingers crossed I'll actually finish it.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for our episode. Svelte just over an hour. Oh, it's so good to be back to normal. Obviously, stick around for the ending segment where we talk about social medias and stuff. Note, mine has changed a little bit. I migrated to a different Blue Sky server thingy. And if you're in the EU, I highly recommend you do the same. Check out Eurosky. Your Blue Sky account will still work normally, but your data is stored on EU servers and not American ones. Highly recommend it. I hope you all enjoyed listening to it. If you did, hit us up on social media or on the Discord, or post something nice in the YouTube comments if you're listening to this on YouTube. And we'll talk to you all in the near future. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Ed in Focus. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps us get noticed. Also, please tell your friends if you think they'd be interested. Word of mouth really helps too. You can also listen and subscribe on Spotify and other podcast services and YouTube. And if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to check out our sister show, Game Podular Unfocused. Follow us on Blue Sky and at GamePodular.com for updates, news, and other content. Links to all of our socials, including our Discord, Mastodon, and Blue Sky, may be found at our Linktree. If you'd like to support our shows, you can buy us a coffee or become a Game Podular patron. The details for both are on our website. Thank you! This episode was edited by Hulka, and you can follow him at Giro12turbo.eurosky.social on Blue Sky. He was joined today by me, Rosalie, who you can find at littlerecordgirl.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. Have a good one.